everybody? I'm Jonathan Randall, and welcome to another episode of How You Like Me Now. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning on YouTube or listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. I'm in the new studio at the Lower East Side doing this all by my lonesome, but I have something to say, and I'm going to say it, even though I think maybe I shouldn't say it sometimes. I actually think a girl I went out with watched an episode of the podcast, and she was like, oh, I'm never seeing this guy again. But hey, what can you do? I'm going to do me, and if they don't like it, they don't have to. That girl did do me and was actually the worst sex I ever had in my life, and it was kind of funny because she was bragging to me before we had sex how her number is so low, how she hasn't had sex with a lot of people, and then we had sex, and it was awful, and I was like, girl, I think you need to have sex with a couple more people because you don't know what you're doing, and despite the horrible sex, I was still gonna see her again because I was gonna give it another try. I was gonna give it another chance. Sometimes first times could be awkward. She wasn't interested. Hey, it's all good. What could you do? I'm still out there. I'm still looking for love, looking for gigs, looking for shows that I could perform on. I feel like I'm looking for a lot of things. Speaking about girls I dated, for those of you that are following, the drama of the girl who ghosted me but then left the jacket at my place, I actually decided this week, and I actually just sent the jacket back to one of the places where she works. She owns some businesses, so I just sent the jacket there. For a while I was like, oh, she doesn't deserve for me to send it there after the way she treated me and ghosted me. But you know what? The more I thought about it, I know that jacket meant something to her. She had told me that it was her grandfather's jacket and he passed, and then she took it, and so I wanted to get it back to her. So I sent it back to her. I thought, why not do the right thing? I did really like that girl. I thought it was very unfortunate what happened, that I never heard from her. I'm not really sure why she decided to ghost me, but hey, I'm a difficult guy. Apparently, I have a hard time with people. I'm not very close with my family. They give me a hard time. I often lose friends that I care about. I've lost a couple in the last couple years that meant a lot to me. It saddens me. I had a good friend of mine, actually, a fellow comedian who I just adored this guy. I respected him so much creatively and just as a person, and I was so jazzed about our friendship. And he kind of just disappeared too. I wouldn't say he ghosted me, but he definitely just kind of stopped showing any interest in our friendship, and it really kind of broke my heart a little bit. But hey, if people don't want to be in your life, you got to just let them go. You can't force anybody to do so. And I want to surround myself with people that realize that I'm a great fucking guy, and that want me around. And if you don't, laters. Anyways, I don't know, was that like self-pity, or was that me like taking my power back? I don't know. Perhaps I revealed too much on this podcast. It's something that I was thinking about, last week when I was talking about, some of my suicidal thoughts, but I just want to be honest, and I just want to be authentic, and I just want to say what pops in my mind and speak freely. And if people can't handle that, then I guess they can't handle me. And what could you do? As my friend Mike says, not everybody could handle the Randall. So a lot going on this week in the world. I definitely want to talk about that. I was talking about dating. So one thing I definitely want to talk about is paying on dates. Who should pay on dates? A lot of people talk about this. And listen, if you know a woman and you've been pursuing her for a while and she's in your friend group, or she's someone that you know from work or from the gym or something, and you're finally going to go out, I would definitely recommend paying. But if you meet a girl on an app and you don't know this woman at all, and you're meeting for the first time, I would really try to recommend maybe you buying the first round and encouraging her to buy the next round, or get it there a little early, buy yourself a drink, and then when she gets there, she could buy a drink, and then after you both finish those drinks, if you think that you want to continue, offer to buy her a drink. But this whole thing that is just the man should pay, I am totally against that. I do not think that that should be the way it is. I know personally I'm looking for a partner. I'm not looking for a sugar baby. And don't get me wrong, when I have a girlfriend, I treat them very well. I'm happy to take them out and do things, but that's when I already am invested in this person and they're invested in me, and I know that we're gonna have some sort of future together, not like going, I hear these stories from guys where they go out with a girl on a first date and they blow a couple $100 and then they never see the girl again. And like, don't do that, guys. Don't invest too much into somebody when there's not something worth investing in. I always have this idea that there should be like a dating app where like if you agree to go out with somebody, like you both, let's say, like pay $10 on the app, and then like when you go meet at the bar, that $10 each goes to your first drinks, and then if you want to continue from there, that's something you could decide to do. But I went out with a girl last night, and we went to one place, and we got a bunch of drinks and food, and I actually dated this girl before COVID, and then we both got COVID, and we kind of just like fell apart. I actually think she's the girl that gave me COVID the first time, and we reconnected, and we went out, and so I paid, but then we went out to another bar, and she paid, and I was like, yes, this is the way it should be. We're both contributing to the date and to possibly a relationship if we have. And that's the kind of partner I want to have. And I encourage people to find the same. And if you're a girl with this attitude that the guy should pay or be a man and pay, I definitely don't want to have anything to do with you. And I would recommend that if a guy's going out with a girl like that, they should run. So last night, I was at a bar. I was with this girl. We went out in Brooklyn, and she took me to this bar. It was a very nice, cool little bar. Had a good time. But sitting next to us was this guy, and he looked so familiar. I'm like, I know this guy. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Is this guy Jeffrey Wright, who's an incredible actor? Most recently, he played Commissioner Gordon in the new Batman movies. I'm a huge fan of the movie Basquiat, where he plays Basquiat, and it is just such an incredible, amazing performance. Of course, he was also in the show Westworld, and the whole time this girl's talking to me, and all I could think of is that Jeffrey Wright sitting like right next to us, and I never know what's the appropriate thing to do in these situations, because it's not just about like telling Jeffrey Wright, oh my gosh, I'm a fan, and thank you for the amazing like art that you've contributed to the world that not only has entertained me, but given me a different perspective on the human condition. But I'm an actor and a writer and a filmmaker and a comedian, and I would love to work with Jeffrey Wright in like any capacity. And I always kind of like feel like, oh my gosh, should I like try to hit him up and talk to him and see if I could get like his number or something, or like that we could be in contact again and I could work with him in some way, or he could come to one of my comedy shows. And I never know what to do, and perhaps I blew the opportunity by not like saying something to him and introducing myself to him. But I also want to respect him, and he's just trying to go out and have a drink and enjoy happy hour and not be like accosted by some like crazy guy who's wants to like work with him and network with him, which I'm sure plenty of actors and artists see him and interact with him. But I thought it was really cool. It was funny. The girl was telling me how much she doesn't really like television shows and she doesn't watch movies. And Jeffrey Wright was just like sitting like right there the whole time. Anyways, Jeffrey Wright is an amazing actor. Check out all his body of work. I don't know what I should do in the future, but I think I'm going to try to start like talking and saying things to him. To celebrities that I meet or that I come across, and seeing if maybe I could establish some sort of relationship, because networking is so key in this game and it's very important. So I got to start doing it better, not get nervous or like afraid. A lot of people say fear should be like your compass in life. Like if you're afraid of something, that's like the universe kind of telling you that's the thing you should do. And I do believe in that. And I do feel like I want to live my life like that. Like if I'm afraid of something, that's the thing that I need to go towards. That's the thing that I really need to do. So, I'm going to try to take my own advice that I'm saying right now and do that in the future. So maybe I will be annoying. Maybe they'll be like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with you. But I think it's better to like try than not to try. Anyways, now I feel like I'm giving a little bit of a TED Talk or something, but I'm just trying to talk about, what's happening in my life, what's going on. I'm trying to find a new therapist. I've been having such a hard time doing so. I must have called between like 50 and 75 different therapists this week in New York City, and they're all like, I'm sorry, our schedules are totally full. We can't see anybody new right now. And I'm like, that's how depressed people are in New York, where like it's impossible to find a therapist. It's kind of crazy, but but I think I might have found one. So that could be good. I recommend people see a therapist, talk to somebody. Some people look down on therapy, but I think there's nothing wrong with like having someone that you're expressing your feelings, your thoughts. This podcast is kind of a little bit of a therapy to me. Sorry that you guys aren't getting paid to listen to me talk about whatever's on my mind right now. But, there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. And of course, if you're struggling with anything, I know I struggle with things. If you are struggling with anything, especially with suicidal thoughts, definitely reach out to someone, whether it's a therapist or a friend, and talk to somebody and know that you're not alone. Hit me up on social media, man. We could chat for a little bit because I want good things for everybody. I especially want good things in Israel and Palestine. I know this has become such a huge part of who I am and my identity. I definitely want to make a difference. I definitely want to acknowledge Israel's crimes. I definitely want to change the perception of Jews that many people have. But I definitely don't want to just be spreading hatred towards Israel. I'm trying to find a way, with my content and my videos to change it up a little bit. I really want to try to start this new movement about peace, about coming together, about letting, the past go. I know it's hard to do, and it's much easier for me to say being an American white Jew in New York City, but change needs to start somewhere, and if I could be an agent of change in any way to make the world a better place, well, that'd be way more fulfilling for my life, and I feel like I contributed something positive to it, and like that's like why else are we here but to have a positive impact on the world and hopefully the people around us. And I definitely want to have a positive impact with what's happening in Israel and Palestine. Unfortunately, yesterday there was a raid in the West Bank. It was one of the worst in years. I believe 10 people were killed, and a lot of people have been hitting me up. Where's your video about this? When are you going to make a video about this? And I don't know what to say. I'm at such a loss because I don't want to spread hatred for Israel. Of course, I want to call them out for what they do wrong, like killing a 6-year-old woman who was caught in the crossfire, which is absolutely horrible. And I think about 10 people were killed. But there's a little bit more to the story. And apparently the IDF raided this refugee camp in the West Bank, the Jenin. I hope I say that right. I might not. Excuse me if I'm not. I have a hard time pronouncing some things. I'm trying to work on it. Anyways, they found out about an imminent attack that was going to happen in Israel, most likely on civilians. So they went to stop it. And then this Palestinian Islamic Jihad group, they opened fire on the IDF, and the IDF, of course, fired back. Of course, they're going to fire back if you shoot at them. If you throw a rock at them, they're going to shoot at you. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you... And they got killed. So, listen, if you're going to terrorize civilians, then, and you get killed, I'm sorry, but, don't do that. I always say, Palestinian violence just ends up hurting Palestinians more, and it does. And then, Gaza, apparently they sent missiles into Israel as a response. Hamas did, of what happened. And then, of course, what happens? Israel goes and starts bombing Gaza. And, I mean, this is just like a fight that, I'm sorry, but, Israel has one of the, the 10th best army in the world or something? They have one of the most sophisticated armies in the world. You don't want to go up against them. They're going to come back tenfold, and that's what always happens. That's why there's 20 times as many Palestinian deaths as there are Israelis. Don't get me wrong, all death is bad. I'm not saying there should be more Israeli death. Definitely not. I don't want any death. But that's why one reason why it's so disproportionate, because Israel has such an advanced army. So then when you're trying to have violence against Israel, it's just going to come back at you and just be worse. And I don't want that to happen. We got to figure out a way to have, peaceful protests. And people have done that in the past, whether it's Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi, which really he used to talk about peaceful protests and how much it's important and not resorting to violence and nonviolent protests. And that's what I want more of. And, I saw people in the UK, they went and they kind of vandalized, different facilities that were contributing to, Israeli like weapons manufacturing. And I'm like, good, this is what we need. More of this type of protest that isn't costing people their lives and isn't costing lives. And I'm sorry, listen, I want Palestine to be free. I do. I really do. I feel like anybody that follows me sees that, like, I have a passion to help these people who are related to us. We are related, okay? We share the same Y chromosome. Studies have been done and they're indistinguishable from one another, okay? And yes, I know what happened was Jews were expelled from, the land Israel and Palestine, and they did go to Europe and they mingled with European women, and that's how we got like Ashkenazi Jews. That's what happened. But we all come from the same place. We're related, and this family feud has to end. We got to figure out a way that we could come together and create a better future, because we're so hung up on the past. It's stopping us. It's hurting our children. It really is. I hope there could be, Martin Luther King talked about, a future where children of all races could be dancing together. And I hope that there could be a future where Palestinian and Israel children could be dancing together, and we could be the family that we are, because we are cousins. And there are, plenty of Jews and Israelis that I have seen calling out Israel's atrocities, that want Palestine to be free, that are totally against the fundamental human rights abuses that Israel does on the Palestinian people. But I've got to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of creators, a lot of videos, a lot of content of people from the other side calling out their leadership, calling out, these militant groups that, want to cause harm to civilians. I don't see that, and I want to see that. Where is that? I don't want to just see hatred, blind hatred. It's just so much hatred to Israel. And when I can't see anybody calling out on the other side, the leadership on the other side, calling out some of these, terrorist groups, I do have to wonder if people that get upset with me, my friends, my family, who think that I'm betraying my own people by, speaking out so adamantly about Israel's crimes, that, the hatred is Jew hatred. And it's not only about Israel. It goes deeper. It's about Jew hatred. And that's why they won't call out their own side for the wrongdoings that they do. And if you want to say that their sides are only innocent, I'm sorry, but that just isn't true. I had such an awful experience on social media this week where, I'm trying to, be more positive. I'm trying to talk about peace and how we could work together and how we can make a better world and not just spread hatred. And I was starting to, there was a creator, I saw some content, I made some comments, and we started to have a back and forth. And this girl, she, has a lot of content that's pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel, which is fine. But, I asked her some questions about, calling out Palestinian leadership and holding them accountable. And she told me that when I hold Israel accountable, she'll hold Hamas accountable. And I was like, hey, have you seen my account? I've made hundreds of videos holding Israel accountable. Anyway, she said, oh, yes, you have. I'm sorry. She still didn't speak out against like Hamas or any of these other militant groups, and I didn't push her on it. But then she started tagging me on like other people's comments on her videos that were saying like Israel forever, or, just saying other things, none of which I thought were too hateful. Believe me, I get much more hateful comments from people on both sides. And I'm like, you want me to hold some idiot troll accountable for commenting on your videos, but you won't. I hold the Israeli government accountable. I hold the IDF accountable, okay? I hold the Jewish people accountable for letting atrocities that happened to us, today's International Holocaust Remembrance Day, happen to other people like the Palestinians, and you won't even hold anyone from your own side accountable. And then she just wrote back, oh, you just want to play games. I'm like, I'm the one playing games? You're the one playing games. You're the one that's making me question making my videos, because I just don't want it to be about spreading hatred. I want it to be about finding ways to move forward in peace. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what to do, but I know that something needs to be done. And as a Jew, I feel like it's important to represent my people in a better way and to find a way to establish peace. Because that's what we need. We need a peaceful coexistence between Palestine and Israel to create a better world, not only for the Palestinians, not only for Israelis to feel safe, but for the whole world. And I feel like, why are we at odds? We'd be so much stronger together. It would be so much better if we had each other's backs instead of constantly trying to stab each other in them. So I'm very sorry for what happened in Jenin. I'm very sorry for any loss of life, especially for the 60-year-old woman who got caught in the crossfire. But if you're going to perpetrate violence against Israel, Israel's going to come out on top. They are. They have this sophisticated army, okay? If I go up to like some swole dude who works out every day and is 6'6" and 300 pounds and start kicking him, he's going to punch me in the face and I'm going to get the shit kicked out of me. And it's going to be horrible. And I don't want that. And so, you got to use your best judgment. And that's what I got to say. And don't do that. I know people are like, oh, well, what do you want? You just want us to bend down and bend over and, just submit. No, you don't have to submit, but you have to be smart. You have to think about the people around you, the people that live around you. You got to think about the future and not just be totally obsessed with the past. Oh, wow. I mean, that's so much. And there's a lot I need to learn and there's a lot I don't know, but I am trying. And I know, again, I'm just some white Jew living in New York City in America, but I care about the Palestinian people, and I really hope that one day you can be free and you can accept Israel and live together in peace and prosperity and create a better world for all. Another thing I wanted to, it's hard to really talk about anything else when you're talking about something like that is so, important and is so significant in the world. And then just, there's no easy segues for me to talk about how, nerd out on how like some shows got canceled that I like, but let's try to make the segue. Doom Patrol and the Titans both got canceled on HBO Max. They were shows that were part of kind of like, the DC universe. Now that James Gunn is taking over, there's a huge shakeup, and those shows got canceled. I am sad to see them go. I think they were both incredible and really great shows. You should check out the episodes. Doom Patrol is really fantastic. It started Brendan Fraser's comeback, and now he's probably going to win an Oscar. He's getting a lot of attention right now, and people are so happy that he's back, and he played the voice of Robot Man, so I definitely recommend checking that out. And I'm sorry to see those shows go, but life goes on. Speaking about shows that are never going to be the same, Justin Roiland, the guy who co-created Rick and Morty and the voice of Rick and Morty, is no longer going to be part of Rick and Morty because he was charged with a felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and a felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit from a 2020 incident with an ex-girlfriend of his. So Cartoon Network has, ended all ties with him. I think so did Hulu. Apparently he stepped down from his video company. They're going to still have a 7th season of Rick and Morty, but it's going to be without him. And now all these DMs are coming out from underage girls that he was messaging inappropriately. And it's just like, oh my God, why are so many of these creative, amazing people? I'm a huge fan of Rick and Morty. Like, horrible sickos. Like, we see this, whether it's, Woody Allen, Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, these people that have incredible talent, they do sick and horrible things. And it's like, it's so hard to then separate like the art from the artist because, Rick and Morty is a wacky show. And geez, like we don't need, like knowing that the guy who created it, was beat up his girlfriend and is sending like horrible, inappropriate texts to minors, like does not make me want to watch the show. And apparently I also saw online that he visited Jeffrey Epstein's island. And if he's sending inappropriate DMs to minors, you can only wonder what he was doing on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So I'm glad they got rid of him from the show. I love the show, but I don't know how to feel about it anymore. I don't know how to feel about it. Rick and Morty will be recast with new voice actors. It'll be easier for them to do because, of course, they're traveling through different dimensions and parallel universes and all that. So a slight change in the voices, I think, could be written into the script easily. But I still feel like he has tainted the show and all the shows that he's done by, being a fucking creep. Do not abuse women. Do not slide into young girls' DMs or try to groom them. It's just creepy and disgusting. And I mean, like, boo for you, Justin Roiland. You created this amazing show, $1 billion in merchandising and everything, and then you just want to, like, take that and be a fucking horrible person with it. It's really disgusting and it's really awful. And yeah, I'm really disappointed and upset about it. Wow, it's a lot of disappointment, upset this week. Disappointed in him and just disappointed in, like I was saying before, I just want to see more people on the Palestinian Arab side calling out their bad leadership, calling out these militant groups that want to just eradicate Israel. I'm sorry, this fantasy that Israel's just like ever going to like go away, it doesn't help anybody. We got to find a way to move forward. And of course, I'm not saying forget the past, but we got to use the past as an example of how not to repeat it so we can make a better world for all. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. I know this week got really heavy, but I appreciate y'all listening. Check me out across social media at Jonathan Randall.